My role is Chief Operating Officer of the National Manufacturing Institute, and then my colleague Jim Hannigan is going to take you through more detail on the Manufacturing Skills Academy. So if anybody has any questions, if you put them on the chat function, there'll be an opportunity for Q&A at the end of the session. Okay, so what is the National Manufacturing Institute? There's a description of the National Manufacturing Institute about being an industry-led manufacturing research and development facility. But what I've done there is I've underlined the words that I guess I want to pull out as being important to me, and the fact that we're working together to transform skills, productivity and innovation, and to make Scotland a global leader in advanced manufacturing. So I'll take you through some of that today and how we're going to approach doing that. And the National Manufacturing Institute is operated by Strathclyde University, but we're supported by a number of organisations that you can see there. And you know, that support and that One Scotland approach is really, really important to the success of the National Manufacturing Institute. So what will NMIS actually do? We're going to work together to increase productivity. We want to increase our manufacturing competitiveness. We want to really attract talent and create new jobs and equip our future workforce and our current workforce with the skills that they need. And they're here to work with businesses of all sizes across all sectors, and hopefully providing benefits across the whole of Scotland. So to all intents and purposes, NMIS needs to be all things to all people. We can't be all things to all people all of the time, but our role is to engage with manufacturing organisations of all shapes and sizes across Scotland to help improve their competitiveness and their productivity. And realistically, what we're going to be doing is bridging a critical gap in terms of adoption of, manufacturing organisations adopting different research technologies that have been developed through research. So if we look here at the technology readiness levels, we've got everything from TRL1, which is I've had a good idea, maybe through to TRL3, which is I've tried it on a benchtop in a research establishment and it kind of works. And at the other end of the scale there, we've got up to TRL9, which is in production, and I don't know how we would ever live without this now. But in the middle there, we've got what gets referred to as the Valley of Death, which is how do you get it from being that, benchtop demonstrator to being something that you can't live without in your manufacturing environment. And this is really where NMIS is going to focus, that translational research and development that gets these really great and innovative ideas out into manufacturing and onto all of our shop floors. I started with the Manufacturing Institute in January of this year, and it was really interesting to me to hear all the different people that I met during those first few months tell me about how they first heard about National Manufacturing Institute and how they were involved. So my story is that in February 2016, I was really quite fortunate to be the chair of the Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Board. And in the Scottish Government's Manufacturing Action Plan, there was a summary of key actions. And the one that I've highlighted there is the paragraph in there that says that we're going to establish this National Manufacturing Institute, which was for manufacturing excellence and also for a skills academy. And when I read that in that Manufacturing Action Plan, I knew that that was something that I wanted to be involved in, something that could really make a difference to manufacturing in Scotland, something that would make manufacturing important and also make it a positive career choice for our young people coming into the world of work and understanding that manufacturing is actually a positive career choice. It's not the dirty manufacturing that they may think of in the past in those dirty, smelly industries, but what a modern manufacturing environment really looks like and the opportunities that that offers. So that was in February 2016. And following on from that, Strathclyde was selected as the anchor university for the National Manufacturing Institute. So why was that? Well, Since 2009, Strathclyde had been operating the Advanced Forming Research Centre in Shannon in Glasgow. And the Advanced Forming Research Centre is a specialist centre which works in that valley of death that I talked about at the start, looking at forming and forging technologies in particular. So doing that translational research to get those forming and forging technologies into manufacturing environments all across the UK. They're part of the High Value Manufacturing Catapult. They're the only catapult centre in Scotland. There are 7 centres in the UK, only one of them is here in Scotland. And since 2009 to date, the AFRC has gone from strength to strength working with those organisations. So with that really strong foundation of the AFRC, Strathclyde, we're going to build on that foundation to create the NMIS Group of specialist centres. So there's the Advanced Forming Research Centre there. Like I said, based in Shannon, and is one of the only high value manufactured catapults, or it is the only high value manufactured catapult in Scotland. AFRC have delivered more than 600 industrial projects, and but also they're about 50% of the interactions of the AFRC are with SMEs in Scotland as well. So it really covers across all different sizes of organisations. So we have that strong foundation of the AFRC, and in 2019 we opened the Lightweight Manufacturing Centre, which is based at the Westway, so just across the water from the AFRC, and that's looking at composite and lightweighting technologies. So the LMC's been open for a year now and working on a number of projects to look at lightweighting and novel materials, which are becoming much more important in today's manufacturing environment. So we've got the LMC. The next plan is to build a digital factory. So we've started that digital factory. We started some of that work already, even although we don't have our own new building. The digital factory looks at automation and assembly, it looks at digital engineering, and it looks at additive manufacturing technologies as well. So for anybody who doesn't know what additive manufacturing is, it's mostly like 3D printing, but with metals and plastics too. So we have a digital factory as part of that NMIS Group. We have, so like I said, the Lightweight Manufacturing Centre, the LMC, is at the Westway. We've also secured some other temporary space at the Westway, and some of our digital factory elements are going to be housed in there until we actually have our own new building. And the third element, or the third new element of that NMIS Group, is going to be the Manufacturing Skills Academy, which Jim's going to talk to you about after me. So really all I want to say about the Manufacturing Skills Academy is it's for anybody at any point in their manufacturing career. It can be for people looking to progress in their career, people looking to start in their career in manufacturing, and also for people who are looking to change careers to explore a career in manufacturing. So all of those parts together, they make the NMIS Group, the National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland. And whilst the AFRC is going to stay in its building here in Shannon, the other parts of the digital factory, the LMC, and also the Manufacturing Skills Academy are all going to move into our new swanky NMIS building, which is going to be built out at the AMIDS Park and should be ready in 2022. And so this is the AMIDS Park, so that's the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation District out here in Renfrewshire. So it is going to be home not just to NMIS, which will be one of the anchor facilities at the AMIDS Park, but also the MMIC, which is the Medicines Manufacturing Innovation Centre, will be the other anchor tenant on that site. So the infrastructure should be there next year to support those facilities as they grow, and obviously we're looking to be the anchor facilities there and then help grow that Manufacturing Innovation District. And also in our building that will be on that Manufacturing Innovation District, we're also going to have a collaboration hub. The Collaboration Hub will be a place where manufacturing organisations can work together in a space where there aren't necessarily the normal restrictions that might apply in some of your factories. So, for example, organisations can come there and work together on projects where there might be barriers in their existing facilities because you can't work together in that facility until you're an approved supplier, so you can't get access, for example, to the warehouse. But in order to become an approved supplier, you actually have to do some work together. So in that collaboration hub, organisations will be able to work with the NMIS team, but also actually just be able to work with each other without the NMIS team as well. So that's our NMIS group. The AFRC, the LMC, the Digital Factory, the Skills Academy. And we're also going to be building a network. So we recognise that having one building out here in the West doesn't necessarily extend its reach all the way across Scotland. So we're looking to build our network across Scotland with everything from membership of NMIS to government funding partners, our One Scotland partners that I highlighted at the start, but also a number of academic partners, trade bodies and other industrial clients. So our reach needs to be much further than just that one building in Shinnon. And I think, whilst the current situation that we're in has presented us with a lot of challenges, here in the NMIS team it's actually helped us really understand how to try and reach people remotely. So we're looking to build on the things that we've learned over the last few months to really continue building that network and extending our reach digitally as we move forward. So I said right at the beginning, these are the things that NMIS will do. But one of the questions that people ask quite a lot is, well, how are you going to do those things? Those are very worthy things to write down about what you want to do, but how are you actually going to go about tackling those things? So my view is that in our building, in this new world-class facility that we're going to be building out here in Renfrew, we need to be able to demonstrate to manufacturing organisations the art of the possible. But it's also crucially important to me, having come from a manufacturing background, that we don't just talk to manufacturing organisations about initiatives or technologies that they could adopt that cost them thousands or millions of pounds without actually being able to show the benefits of those things. And it's also really important to me that not only when we're demonstrating the art of the possible, that we are actually also walking the walk as an organisation as well. So if we're saying that, these things really help increase productivity or these things really help increase efficiency, then we actually need to be able to show in our own organisation what benefits we've actually achieved. And we also need to understand the issues that the manufacturing organisations are facing, so that we can actually say, yep, we came across that problem too, and this is how we solved it. So to try and show you how we're approaching those things, we are developing a series of test beds, and resume test bed is one of those. Now, it is an acronym. I can't actually remember what it's an acronym for, but we do like a cheeky wee acronym here at NMIS. And I also hesitated to put this diagram up because it looks quite complicated, but hopefully I'll be able to try and take you through it. So this is a map of a supply chain. And as I talk through it, hopefully a lot of you will recognise these types of supply chain. So in the bottom left-hand corner there, we've got the NMIS facility, which we've said there is a manufacturing integration hub. We also can see in the top left-hand side, and then the diagram in the middle there, we've got the AFRC and the LMC, which we would consider to be our specialist manufacturing spokes. And then we've also got at the top right-hand side there a couple of suppliers. Now, these are supply chains that people would recognise. You'll have somewhere that's got, you're doing some manufacturing, you're doing some integration. There are some parts that you will contract out either to parts of your own organisation or to supplier, and you will be accepting those parts back in to do the final integration within your facility. So there are pale yellow arrows there that show, instructions and job cards going out and product flowing back in. But the crucial thing that's on this that's maybe slightly different from some of the supply chains that we understand today is the purple lines there show scheduling between NMIS facilities and its suppliers, but the blue lines also show the data flow. So in a connected environment where data is available, being able to connect to those things allows the customer to see where their parts are in the system and any issues that they're having, and also maybe measurement data that comes from different parts of the manufacturing process. And so the green line there shows the digital passport. So we're looking to establish something like this, which lets us integrate all the different machines from our different specialist manufacturing centres and create that digital information flow and create the digital passport. And a lot of times when we go to listen to people talk about, or organisations talk about, these connected supply chains and this connected manufacturing, there's the chat is around investment in new machinery that enables you to do that. So what we are trying to do here is understand with our existing machinery, some examples of which are there on the slide, how can we do that with the existing machinery that we have? Because that's the reality of the situation for a lot of manufacturers, is that there is no investment in new machinery, but there's an expectation that we'll be able to reap the rewards of a digital environment. So our situation is that we have about 142 machines located across different NMIS facilities, and 117 of those are controlled by a PLC or a CNC. So potentially we could communicate with those, but we've got 25 pieces of equipment that have no connectivity at all. And we're talking about things like bandsaws and cranes and welders there. So they have no Ethernet or connection ports, probably actually just plugged in somewhere. And we want to try and connect all 142 bits of machinery and understand what information we can get out of that system and be able to create that digital passport for the parts that we are manufacturing. So there will be, on the machines where we can get the information, we'll be able to get lots of things like environmental information as well. But we're looking to even understand something as basic as usage digitally from the pieces of equipment with no connectivity. So we want to be able to demonstrate that connected dynamic supply chain, which involves multiple processes and partners. But like I said at the start, we want to develop solutions to the challenges that all organisations face in connecting that machinery. But we also want to make sure that we understand, what kind of budget range we would be working in. So what you can do on a really tight budget, or what you can do if you have an unlimited budget. I think the key thing as well is that what we want to be able to do is offer that information up to our customers in a way that's unbiased. So we're not working for one particular organisation telling you that you need to invest in their system and their machinery in order to be able to do this. We're going to do it with the existing equipment that we have. And we hope that in being able to, in creating this test bed and being able to demonstrate that to manufacturing organisations that are looking to work with us, that we'll be able to assist everybody in developing their digital architecture, really understanding that one size doesn't fit everybody. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea as to what we're developing. Like I said, we've got a number of different test beds that are going to cover different things, but that particular digitally connected supply chain is one that we're starting with, and we hope to have available to demonstrate in our new facility, but we're working on it now and we should be able to demonstrate it from anywhere. I also wanted to try to give you an idea of some of the projects that we've worked on. So we worked on a digital twin for a cask filling project, which has been in the press. Maybe some of you have read it, but just to give you a bit of background, we collaborated with some industrial partners to devise a digital whisky cask filling process. So Scotland's whisky industry is worth about 5.5 billion, and this project should be able to save millions of pounds in that industry. So we established a collaboration between the AFRC, Diageo, Siemens and KigTech. And the challenge was that cask production itself counts for, up to 20% of the overall cost of whisky production. So that's a significant cost within that production process. And an organisation like Diageo holds over 11 million casks at any point in time. So if you can actually standardise the filling of those casks, then you can potentially reduce the number of casks that have to be held and also the number of casks that have to be manufactured. So we needed to tackle the problem of the inconsistent cask filling because there's a lot of overspill because the casks vary in size. Even though they are, I guess, a reasonably standard size, they do vary enough in size that you can get a lot of overspill. You can also get underfill, and there's a lot of foaming occurs in that process as well. So what did we actually do in that project? So our digital manufacturing team, they built the consortium with Diageo. They developed a cyber-physical system that allowed us to model the process and look at real-time cask filling. And we provided a mechanical design of the filling solution that we came up with, and we also developed an augmented reality application so that we could actually visualize the data. But the all-important results, what actually happened? So we got a 5% improvement on the standard, the industry standard to fill a cask. So previously, the industry standard was sitting at about 93 or 94%. And we managed to get that to a very repeatable 99% fill in a 200 litre cask. We also managed to reduce the cycle time to fill by a third, and we eliminated underfilling and overfilling with that project. And the impact of that is that it actually could save the whisky industry millions of pounds every year. And also it gave a new product and service offering to the SME that we worked with in that process. So the reduction in cost comes from warehousing and also, for storing the filled casks, but also the inventory costs because they have to purchase fewer casks. So that was a really significant project, a really interesting project to work on in the food and drink industry, and a really great example of how NMIS can help look at a process that's been established for a long time and help improve that process by using, digital techniques in order to be able to do that. I've just put up an example of a couple of other projects there that we've worked on, to develop an ultralight and sustainable wind turbine, which gives 9% more energy than conventional blades, and also, using blockchain technology to help save a lot of money in paperwork and admin costs, while also making the data more secure. So a couple of examples of those types of projects. So I know that was a very quick run through, and I know, Jim, I'm really sorry I have actually run over the time that we agreed I would speak for. I'd just like to thank everybody for listening and to highlight a couple of other NMIS Insight sessions that are going on this month. This is the way going forward that we will also reach out to groups of people to help them engage with NMIS. And please don't hesitate to get involved. Either have a look on our website or drop us an email with any questions, and Jim and I will take questions at the end. Thank you for listening to me this morning, everybody. I will have to try and work out how to stop sharing.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Jim.
Thanks, Sarah. I just need a little bit of
I know, you just need to know that you're online. Yeah.
No, thanks for the presentation, Sarah. I thought it was excellent, and I felt it really got to the meaning and purpose of NMIS. My name's Jim Hannigan. I'm the Manufacturing Skills Academy Capability Lead for NMIS. I'm also the NMIS Skills Programme Manager for Skills Development Scotland. Prior to joining the project, I was involved in the heavy engineering and manufacturing sector for over 30 years. I'd just like to take some time this morning to talk to you about the Manufacturing Skills Academy, where we started from, where we are at the moment, and where we're heading.
Sorry to interrupt, Jim. Are you able to put your webcam on at all so we can see you when you're speaking?
How's that?
Got you. Brilliant. Thank you.
Apologies, Laura. I thought it was on.
It's no problem at all.
I'm now having a problem moving the slides.
You just need to click back on the slides, Jim, and it should work. I had that problem too.
Yeah. There we go. So the Manufacturing Skills Academy, the plan is to build on and complement the excellent provision already available across institutions, developing the approaches to support employers to embrace Industry 4.0 as Sarah went through. And I think really that's the key thing we need to try and achieve. Everything Sarah went through there, those brilliant facilities, brilliant innovative thinking, that golden thread needs to run from our R&D agenda through our collaboration hub to skills provision. That's where we'll add real value here in this project. And this is the thing that will make the Manufacturing Skills Academy different. We've come up with 5 strategic objectives that everything we do needs to be related back to. So support employers embrace the digital transformation, be the leader in future manufacturing education. One of the key elements of inspiring and attracting and retaining a diverse talent pool. 21st century shop front to show that digital manufacturing is a clean, high-tech, high-value sector, and understand what we need to do around the skills needs associated with net zero emissions, which is a big feature of the Scottish Government's thoughts going forward. But really what we have here is a fantastic opportunity to show everybody, and I think Sarah touched on it, young people, old people, boys, girls, etc., that manufacturing is a career to have. Currently, I'm not sure that younger people see that, but we've got a fantastic opportunity to change that. I just want to give you a quick look through the stakeholders and environment in which we developed the Manufacturing Skills Academy proposition. So as we've been quite clear on, it's industry-led, with influence from Scottish Government, academia through universities and colleges, and not just Strathclyde. We've worked with SRPE across a number of universities. The public sector agencies, HAI and Scottish Enterprise and Skills Development Scotland, and all of their initiatives, right through to more recently the Benny Higgins report, the Advisory Group on Economic Recovery, the recommendations that made and the response from the government, and what that would mean for our Skills Academy, and similar for the Enterprise and Skills Strategic Board subgroup. All of these things would have an influence on our thinking for the Skills Academy going forward. We had a strong evidence base, and it was large and wide to start the project on. There's almost a rule of 3 here. You can see that we had in-house research from SDS. We also reached out to industry through the University of Strathclyde and O'Herlihy NMIS demand assessments that clearly told us where we needed to be from a skills perspective from an industry view. We then had input from Engineering Skills Leadership Group. We developed an NMIS skills workstream, which was multi-representative across agencies, industry, academia. And from there, we developed a skills proposition paper that was a bedrock for the Skills Academy. And back in October, this was reviewed and approved by the NMIS Programme Board, and is now one of the 8 NMIS project workstreams focused on leadership and skills. And just recently, we had our forward business plan for the Skills Academy, direction of travel approved by the NMIS Project Board. However, Skills landscape clearly changing. This is from a seminal Global McKinsey Institute report. It's obviously pre-COVID, but you can see with respect to expected future skills needs, demands for basic cognitive skills will decline. Demand for physical and manual skills will also drop, although will still play a big part in the requirement for the workforce. But this is looking out towards 2030. But as you can see from the forward box, sort of societal and emotional skills around creativity and critical thinking will be needed more, perceived as more important. Similarly for leadership, and that's why we think as we develop our apprenticeship family and our upskilling and reskilling offers, that the importance of meta skills will play a key part, and we'll be introducing those to everything that we do within the academy. I just wanted to touch on something Sarah mentioned in her presentation. We do have a sector attractiveness challenge. We have a high-tech, high-value industry, and we should communicate that. Barclays produced a paper at the end of 2018 that suggested only 4% of Generation Z, 16 to 23-year-olds, are considering a career in manufacturing. If you dig deeper into that, the reasoning was they didn't feel they would get critical thinking skills, creativity skills, comms, problem solving, which if you've worked in the manufacturing industry and seen examples that Sarah gave in her presentation, is clearly not the case. However, we don't help ourselves when any time we read in the media about manufacturing, we see this picture of somebody doing some angle grinding, which is a noble art. I've done it myself, so I've got license to comment. However, it doesn't really convey the high value, high tech nature of manufacturing at the moment, and I think we need to stop doing it. I know most of you I've worked with recently know that's my hobby horse, and I'm going to continue to be that hobby horse, I think. So what have we done and what's in development? NMIS is more than a building and shinning. It's a national asset. It's an ethos. It's a philosophy. And what is really important for us is that we make sure we have pan-Scotland coverage in everything we do. So in the early stages of the project, we embarked on a capacity building exercise for the skill system, and we developed some baseline digital skills for trainers, and that's currently been transferred into the academy ownership. We commissioned a report from a Strathclyde-led consortium on what the delivery model should be with respect to curriculum and syllabus for the academy. We are going to look at that in combination with a global benchmarking exercise we performed, and I'll touch on that later. We currently have around 30 industrial doctorate projects in place. These are multi-sector, multi-technology, from SMEs to large employers. That was managed for us by SRPE, but going forward as a Skills Academy, we'll also have other industrial doctorate programme opportunities. Similarly, SRPE managed our continuing professional development modules. We've developed a number of those across a number of topics. The challenge we face at the moment, like everybody else in this COVID world, is figuring out the best way to deliver that content, because it's not just as easy as putting it online. You need to understand how people receive that learning as well, and doing some work to think about that. We've been working collaboratively with Scottish Enterprise, Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Service, Strathclyde and SDS on a Manufacturing 4.0 product that enhances the skills development requirements needed when you make a niche intervention in your business from a digital manufacturing perspective. And that will help us think about what kind of meta skills should we be focusing on. The collaborative nature means that we can signpost people to upskilling and reskilling offerings. And the project we were working on, we had 3 companies lined up as a pilot. However, we did put it into abeyance given the current COVID challenges. We are going to have a manufacturing skills advisory group that will evolve from the engineering skills leadership group. We've asked for volunteers. and we've had some hands up on that, so we're quite delighted. As I touched on earlier, we commissioned a global benchmarking of skills academies to help us with our business planning. That report has been completed. It looks across a number of academies across the world with respect to their customers, skills levels, content and delivery, funding models, governance. So we're going to have a look at that and, if I'm being honest, copy with pride and take the best bits that we think will fit for a Scottish manufacturing skills academy to begin with, but give us a platform to be a more global entity as time goes on. Similarly, and you would expect this with respect to Skills Development Scotland, we are currently revamping our digital manufacturing apprenticeships. We need to understand what is required to develop that across foundation, manufacturing and graduate apprenticeships. This will be employer, employee, industry, et al., other stakeholders, led through a technical expert group process, and we've got that penciled in to start September through to December 2020. In May of this year, we launched the NMIS Foundation Apprenticeship in Digital Manufacturing. This was driven by a number of stakeholders, very collaborative project under the Renfrewshire Council NMIS Skills Pilot. So NMIS, SDS, West College Scotland, Renfrewshire Council put together this offer. If you know anybody, any boys and girls in senior school, it's a great opportunity to apply. We have placements with AFRC, we have placements with Diageo, we have placements with the Lightweight Manufacturing Centre already arranged, and we're very excited about how we can use this to change people's thinking around the attractiveness of a career in manufacturing. Going forward, certainly see the Manufacturing Skills Academy as a mechanism, not just for businesses, but for individuals to access frictionless learner journeys throughout their life and career. The sort of digitisation of learning content at the moment, some of it which was in the tube and some of it which has been hastened or accelerated by COVID, means that there's the opportunity to personalise learning and allow people to socialise it amongst themselves, contextualise it with the actual job that they do, and then authenticate it so that they have credit for it. Similarly, like everybody else, we're looking at how do we reskill and upskill the current workforce, and indeed people who want to join the manufacturing workforce once they're disrupted by technology, how do they learn around their current job commitments? What's the best way to do that? Because with the best will in the world, it's difficult to march and fight, and I know from my previous experiences, you really want people to progress and be upskilled and reskilled, but you've also got competing challenges around bottom lines and recoveries and whatnot. So we have to think, what's the best way we can do this? And again, I see the Skills Academy as being at the forefront of that. Net zero carbon, as I touched on earlier, we need to work closer with employers and employees to understand where we are with respect to that 2045 target. I think there's an argument around it's about mindset in net zero carbon with respect to skills. The fundamental skills might not be that different, but how you apply them and how you think about them certainly will be. And I think something Sarah touched on as well at the start of our presentation is we also need to show how these interventions will make a positive contribution to our business from a bottom line perspective or from a sustainability perspective. And then, you know, it's not always the rank and file that we have to worry about. Innovation and leadership is also very important. So how do we develop manufacturing leadership? How do we make organisations like Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Service, SMAS, how do we make them and other training providers, how do we make them better? What's the best way to do that? How do we get performance improvement in there and make sure as a Manufacturing Skills Academy, we actually are transformational around what we're trying to achieve? We don't want to be doing anything that's already happening in this arena. We want to be 5 to 10 years ahead and thinking about what businesses and industry and individuals will need as the digital manufacturing and the Industry 4.0 transformation occurs. So that's some of the things we'll be thinking about as future product portfolio themes. Now, I know you'll have a lot of questions and probably asking some already, but I thought I would, if it was okay, take the opportunity to frame some of that thinking for you ahead of that. I think one of the things Sarah was quite keen on in these presentations was that we were making sure we've opened the communication channels as wide as we possibly can, because at the end of the day, we need your influence and we need your leadership from an industry perspective to help us shape what's required. So there's some questions there around workforce, current workforce and future workforce. At the moment, have you faced any skills gaps? Have you encountered any shortages? Going forward, what do you think key drivers will be that will influence companies over the next 3 to 5 years? What does that mean for the impact and skills? How might skills be required to perform different changes in different tasks? There's a lot to think about. There's a few whys, I think, to be asked around these questions. And then similarly, with respect to training, what do you currently use? Do you use work-based learning, apprenticeship, family, college, university? Are you happy with the CPD offering? Are formal qualifications important for you when you're putting people through training? Is there any gaps there? And I think probably the big question and where we all want to help each other is, in broad terms, what would you like to see the Academy doing to meet the future skills needs of digital manufacturing companies and individuals? We don't have all the answers. I wish we did. But I think with a combination of all of us and a collaborative approach, we can probably find all the answers. And just when you're thinking about asking those questions, we have a small team at the Manufacturing Skills Academy at the moment. Should probably use some of those photographs for keeping the kids back from the fire. But those are the people who you should be getting in touch with if you've got any questions. All skills inquiries can go to the NMIS inquiries box. All of the people there and beyond, the senior team as well, would be more than happy to help with any questions and inquiries. So apologies for the technical hitches at the start. I've kind of galloped through that a little bit. But as Sarah said, we're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Well done, Jim. That was good. Can you hear me?
I can.
Right, excellent. Okay, so while you were doing your presentation there, I was just keeping track of the questions that were coming through on the chat. So there's one for you, which I'll just give you just now since you're on a roll. Is a question was, what is the strategy for encouraging younger sort of primary school age kids into manufacturing?
Okay, so I think that will probably be an NMIS-wide activity. When we talked about a 21st century shop front, clearly the building itself, when it's in place, will be somewhere we would like to get school kids to visit. We have a number of STEM activities, as you know, going on at the moment that are probably not NMIS related, that are everyday work that people's doing. But I genuinely think that the building and taking people round the facilities and taking the facility out to people across the country will be the way to do it. Communication is always a difficult battle to wage, because it's all very well, I think, trying to influence children from STEM activities and relating that to manufacturing. But there's other stakeholders there that need to be influenced, and those are parents and those are teachers. And we need to work really hard around those things. So I think it's a more holistic approach is probably required. But I think a National Manufacturing Institute of the scale that we're talking about here is going to go a long way to helping with that.
Yep. No, I would agree, Jim. And also, I think just to add, I've had a couple of conversations with the people who run Primary Engineer, so that we get them really involved in the building and understanding how to engage kids through the Primary Engineer with the National Manufacturing Institute. So I think that would be really good. Okay, there were a couple of other questions. So there was some questions from David Nicholson from Seed had asked about sharing the case studies. So I think the lovely ladies who are helping us today have put that on, so that links on, so that people can share some of those case studies that I mentioned today. There was a question from someone about security measures around the sort of connected digital supply chains. So I'm not an expert in that stuff, and I'm not sure how I wouldn't feel confident about talking about those security measures, but if you want to drop some of your contact details on an email, I'm sure I can get someone from the digital team to talk to you about that a bit further. And then there was a question from someone on our membership model. So how will it change for people who are for organisations who are currently members of the AFRC? So as you might expect, I'm not going to say too much about that, because we are looking at an alternative model for NMIS, and we're also discussing that with our existing AFRC members. Our goal is to make sure that NMIS is accessible to all organisations of all shapes and sizes and across all sectors, which is very different, and from a membership point of view, as well as from sort of doing some directly funded work or doing collaborative work with us. It's very different to the AFRC model, where there are a cohort of organisations who are all pretty much interested in the same thing being forming and forging. We might get 5 different organisations want to sign up to be NMIS members from 5 different sectors, so it's really difficult to build that cohort in the same way as we built that for the AFRC. So we're currently in discussion with the AFRC board about what that membership of AFRC looks like going forward, and also with our One Scotland partners in terms of what the NMIS membership model looks like going forward. So I don't really want to say too much more about the membership model there, but if the person who asked the question, I'm sorry, I'm madly trying to scroll to find out who it was. If the person who asked the question wants to get into that in a bit more detail, you can contact me separately, or I put you in touch with the person that's responsible for membership, so that you can ask some more detailed questions. So I know that didn't really answer the last 2 questions in much detail. I'm sorry for that. Right, there's another question here, Jim, I think. It starts off with great MSA team, so that is bigging you up already. It says, we currently run training on digital tools and skills. Who would be key to engage within the team to collaborate in conducting our training courses at NMIS and discussing it with our training and development manager?
I think on that one, you're probably talking about Stuart McKinley or Jose as the people to interact with initially. Okay.
And then the next one says, so now apologies, I'm just reading these off the screen now. As a foundryman, I'm fascinated by digitisation and the advancement of additive manufacturing. I'm currently concerned by the dismissal of traditional manufacturing methods and understanding. I see a requirement for continuing the traditional cast method manufacture. Do you see a future for traditional methods also? So yes, and I think the things that both Jim and I are keen to emphasise here is that this is about building on the strong manufacturing foundation that we have already, but sort of making sure that we use emerging technologies to our best advantage, whether that's in training or whether that's on the shop floor. So we're not looking to replace training in traditional skills, with training on these new skills, we're looking to complement those things, you know, and make sure that, you know, everybody's equipped for this modern digital age, but still can do the things that they always used to be able to do, maybe just more efficiently, or, you know, more efficiently, or maybe more consistently, by taking some of those things, and also by being able to understand the manufacturing processes better than we did. I don't know if you want to add anything in there, Jim.
No, I think 100%, and I think one of the key things would be as well is the fact that we are taking a technology approach rather than a sector approach in real terms. We would look to see if there's cross-fertilisation of anything that's done in other areas that can help enhance some of the current day activities. Yeah, as we both said, we're not in the business of displacing anything really. We're looking to improve, and we're looking to transform in real terms.
Okay, I think that is all the questions that came through. So you can see Debbie has put on there the inquiry's email address on the chat if anybody wants to get in touch afterwards. And also, you know, much to the delight of myself and Jim, this will be on YouTube later, which is always the best bit of this. And there's also going to be a survey, so we'd really appreciate your feedback on the webinar, so that we can actually help to improve what we, you know, present to people going forward. So what is there anything you'd like more focus on? Is there, you know, things that you'd like to go into in a bit more depth? Is there stuff that we're not covering that you expect to be covered? We've done this double act a few times now, and hoping to get better as we go forward. And from my point of view, I would just like to say thanks very much to everybody for joining us today and for listening to us. So thank you and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Jim. I'll let the comments run in the chat just for a few more seconds before I end the recording.